Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to another series in 2022 of Rare Medium Academy. So what's Rare Medium Academy all about? Well, our mission is to educate, inspire, and make sure that you have success with Australian red meat on menu. Who's it for? Well, anything from the chef to the apprentice to the producer, peak industry cancels, the whole red meat industry, in fact, to make sure that you're enjoying having success of Australian red meat on menu. So today we're going to be talking about sustainable menus and the ambitious target for the red meat industry to be carbon neutral by 2030. First up, we're going to talk to our Senior Food and Nutrition Manager, Droulez, about tips and tricks in food service that you can have success with sustainable menus featuring Australian red meat on your menu. Let's cut right now to Droulez and myself giving tips and tricks on sustainable menus. Hi, Sam Burke, Corporate Chef for Meat and Livestock Australia. And today I'm joined by Droulez, who's our Nutrition Manager here at Meat and Livestock Australia. Today, we're going to talk about the ambitious target the Australian red meat industry has to be carbon neutral by 2030. So what does this mean for food service? Vero, welcome.
Thank you, Sam.
So Vero, how can chefs make their menus more sustainable?
Well, Sam, it's all about sustainable consumption. The evidence shows that reducing food waste is key. Essentially, food that is not eaten is a waste of all those resources that was used to produce and transport the food.
So that makes perfect sense. So how can the chefs reduce food waste in their kitchen?
Funnily enough, portion size is the key to a sustainable diet. Eating the right amount of food is not only good for the environment, as we all know, it's also important for maintaining a healthy weight.
So Vero, as a food service professional, portion size is very important because it helps maintain the bottom line. Not only that, consumers are looking at healthier, smaller portions to maintain their lifestyle. So it's a win-win-win: health, environment, and profit. Vero, can you show us some portion guidelines of Australian red meat in menus for food service?
Serving portion sizes of around 100 to 200 grams raw weight per person is not only in line with the Australian dietary guidelines, but it's also the amounts that Australians typically eat in their homes. So for instance, when they're having salads, they tend to have about 100 grams raw weight, and when they have a steak, they'll have 200 grams raw weight. So really, if you can feature meals with these different portion sizes on the menu, then customers can choose amounts that they are used to eating and suit their appetite, and they'll be more likely to eat it.
So Vero, I've got some ideas. So say if you had a large steak, 350 grams, you could serve that to your customer and portion it at the table for two with some healthy sides. Other ideas is smaller bowls or plates to make sure that the dish looks fuller when you're serving it to the customer. If you're doing a carve, for example, you can weigh the first portion out, visualize it, and then cut it the same way for the customers throughout the service period. And lastly, if you've got a selection of utensils and you're serving wet dishes, you can actually portion as per need with the size of the utensil to your food service customer.
Those are great ideas, Sam. As you know, I am passionate about serving customers healthier choices with beef and lamb. So I'm very excited to hear those ideas.
Well, thanks, Vero. You've inspired us here today with our presentation. We're going to do a grilled sirloin steak for two. We're going to follow it up with a power bowl featuring the rump roast beef. And then lastly, we're going to do an easy carved leg of lamb. And to finish it off, we've got our corporate butcher, Doug Piper, who's going to show us how to portion it. Vero, thanks for coming to Rare Medium Academy.
Thank you, Sam.
And you can find all this information and recipes on Rare Medium Academy. Well, we've already got the questions firing through after our first video there. We've got a question from a chef that's just asking, what's the ideal portion for a sandwich or a roll? Well, I recommend 90 to 120 grams of raw protein for a sandwich, roll or burger is suffice, and will minimise waste and give you an excellent product. So let's just recap that video, right? So we talked about portion control and how it assists with, maintaining the bottom line. We also talked about, cost of goods management, and giving your customers a choice whether they like a share plate or an individual plate. All those things go into sustainable menus. So there's a few key points for you to take away from today's webinar. Next up, let's have a look at Doug Piper. We've got the master butcher, Doug Piper, back. He's going to look at the sirloin today, and we're going to look at how we portion that for an individual portion in a thick cut medallion steak, something new you might not have seen before, and also a larger steak for two. Let's go to our master butcher, Doug Piper, and the sirloin.
G'day, I'm Doug Piper, Corporate Butcher for Meat and Livestock Australia. Today I'm going to show you some options on how you can cut up a sirloin or a strip loin. The main reason we're going to do this is so we can get a consistent sized steak, make sure we get a great yield out of the product, and your customers have an excellent eating experience every time. Okay, here's our strip loin. This one's going between 5 and 6 kilos. That's on the largest scale of beef that we have available. If you were going to cut a 200 gram steak out of a larger primal, it's going to be pretty thin, which makes it difficult to do a rare steak. So what I would suggest you do is cut that a little bit thicker. Do a 350 gram steak. That way, that 350 gram steak is actually going to suit 2 people. All you have to do is cook it to the right degree of doneness. You'll get a nice rare one out of this, or a medium rare. Slice it up, serve it with some seasonal sides. So I just showed you how to portion cut a 350 gram steak. Now what we're going to do is show you another option where you can do a smaller steak to suit 1 person. So this time around we're going to split this whole strippy straight in half. Just cut it straight down through the centre there, lengthways. And I also want to take off some of that ligament on the side, and I'm going to remove that lip on this side as well. That's not too bad. So from here we can then portion that out into a nice little 200 gram steak. And the last part for the strip loin, all I'm going to do is I'm going to take off all that fat. I'm going to roll that sirloin up in some cling wrap, and then we can portion that nicely so we've got a nice little lean mignon or pave.
Well, thank you, Doug. Now, if you'd like to find more information about how the Australian red meat industry is moving towards the ambitious target to be carbon neutral by 2030, head to australiangoodmeat.com.au or Google red meat green facts. Next up, Doug's portioned the sirloin. I'm going to show you in food service how to put it into application on the plate. Let's go to myself demonstrating the medallion and the share plate sirloin. Today's dish, we've got a grilled sirloin steak that we're going to serve with a salsa roja and roast filled mushrooms. So we've got the sirloin steak cut 2 ways today. A thick cut 350 gram, which we're going to slice at the table for 2 people. And we've got a medallion steak, which is essentially the sirloin cut straight down the middle and then cut thick at 200 grams. Today, there's no difference to the way that we're going to cook this. A nice hot skillet or grill pan. We're going to season the steak prior to going on the grill pan with oil, salt and pepper, and then straight onto the griddle pan. Reduce the heat to medium for 4 to 5 minutes each side because we've got slightly thicker steak, or to an internal doneness of 58 to 60 degrees. We'll then rest it for half the amount of cooking time, so a good 5 minutes with some lightly aluminium foil over the top, and then carve it to the customer. You don't always have to have thick cut chips on the side of your steak. Today I'm going to show you something a little different that tastes spectacular. We've got some filled mushrooms that I'm going to put a duxelle of mushroom in, some thyme, garlic, a touch of parsley, a bit of lemon juice. We're going to roast them in the combi oven, and then to accompany, I've got the salsa roja, which is simply tomatoes, jalapeno, coriander and onion. Well, here's some different ways of presenting the sirloin steak. You've got your shared steak for two, your individual thick cut medallion. You've got health, sustainability, and profitability for your business. Well, there you go, there's the sirloin. And we've had a few questions that have come to us during this video, and I'll just answer them right now. So one of them is, what are other names for the sirloin steak? Well, it can be called the porterhouse or the New York cut. Also, the T-bone is the sirloin with a centre bone down the middle. To the left-hand side is the eye fillet. So there's quite a few variances of these cuts, and all can be winners on your menu if you portion them applicably. Next up, let's have a look at the roast beef. So we've talked about the steak component for sustainable meals. Now also, steaks go well, or red meat, or lamb, beef, veal, goat, goes well in salads as well. So we're going to have our master butcher Doug Piper back with the roast beef. That's the rump with the cap off. And he's going to segment that, that cut for us. And then I'm going to show you how to put it into a power bowl for your customer at a smaller portion that meets your cost of goods and provides a healthy meal for your patrons. Let's go to the roast beef with Doug Piper.
G'day, I'm Doug Piper, Corporate Butcher for Meat and Livestock Australia. Today I'm going to talk to you about one of those lesser known cuts, the roast beef. That's roast beef, R-O-S-T-B-I-F-F. The roast beef is part of the rump. It's actually the whole centre cut of the rump once the rump cap is actually removed. So first of all, we take off that rump cap, trim off all the fat, and that leaves us with a nice rump centre, which is obviously what we call the roast beef. From there, what I want to do is actually slice that into 3 portions. So we end up with a rump side muscle, and then you've got the rump centre, which we will then split in half, and then we'll pass it over to Chef Sam to cook up for his power bowl.
Well, thanks, Doug. He's prepared this roast beef perfectly. He's cut it into 3 separate logs. Now, let's talk about how we're going to marinate and reverse sear this cut prior to putting it on the grill. First up, let's get all the ingredients for the marinade into a bowl and give them a good whisk. Then we're going to transfer the beef into a gastro tray and then marinate the beef, put it into the combi oven at 60 degrees Celsius dry heat with an internal temperature of 56 degrees. We're then going to remove the beef and we're going to pan sear it on the hot grill using the reserving marinated from the pan to baste the beef. Now we're going to cut our roast beef across the grain and then we're going to bring it to our ingredients. The wonderful thing about salads is you don't necessarily have to have a big portion of red meat. 100 grams to 140 grams is fine. You've got all those textures and flavours from the other ingredients that really bring a bowl full of health to your customer. Australian beef, the greatest meat on earth. So there you have it. There's a power bowl that you might be able to put into your business to achieve, good variety of red meat on menu and promote sustainable menus into your outlet. Now, question that's come through, the roast beef. Where does the name come from? Well, it's actually associated with roast beef. It's the Swedish terminology, and we've adopted it through Ozmeat, and that's what we call it here. So it's actually a cut, but it's adopted from the Swedish word roast beef. Another question that's come through, with reverse searing, Chef Sam, how do you see that taking its place on a banquet menu or for a pre-plated meals? I think it's awesome for an entree. If you were to reverse sear the roast beef like we did then, and we've actually done it ourselves, Julie and I, and then we portioned it into sliverettes and we used it as a Thai beef salad. I did that at Beef Australia in 2021. So great cut, versatility, and makes things easier on your menu. Now, for our next video, we need to give a roast version, and what not better to bring Doug Piper back to have a look at the leg of lamb, a traditional cut that's featured a lot on menus. He's going to butcher it and show us an easy carve way of doing that, and then I'm going to show you a sustainable way of producing a beautiful roast meal for your menu. Let's go to Master Butcher Doug Piper with Australian lamb and the easy carve leg.
G'day, I'm Doug Piper, Corporate Butcher for Meat and Livestock Australia. Today I'm going to show you how to do an easy carved leg of lamb. Australia has some of the best lamb in the world, and I'm proud to show you how to make one of those easy carved legs out of this beautiful leg. First of all, what I want to do is actually take off one of the muscles. And then I'm going to semi-bone it, which means I'm just going to take out the leg bone between the hip there and the shank. Then we're going to roll it up and truss it and ship it over to Chef Sam so he can cook his nice dish.
Well, thanks, Doug. He's beautifully prepared this easy carved leg of lamb for us to roast. Firstly, let's get the lemon and garlic into the tray so we can nest our lamb on top. Then we're going to make our marinade for our lamb, which consists of olive oil, flat leaf parsley, anchovy, oregano, garlic, lemon juice, sea salt, and cracked black pepper. We'll score the lamb and then massage those ingredients into our leg. Then we're going to transfer it into our combi oven, 160 degrees Celsius with an internal doneness of 56 degrees. Once that's roasted, we'll rest it and we'll carve it into portions of 140 grams. The great thing about the easy carved leg of lamb is that you can carve it quite easily and marry it with a beautiful side. Today we've got a Middle Eastern rice. Well, there you have it, a beautiful balanced meal your customers will surely enjoy. Share the lamb. Okay, so that brings the end to another Rare Medium Academy webinar. But before we go, let's just walk through some of the tools that you can utilize in your business. So at the completion of today's webinar, which is now, all the videos will be loaded up onto raremediumacademy.com. Just go to Masterclass and you'll see all the recipes we had today available for you to utilize into your business immediately. A big shout out to Sharon Altman and the team at TAFE New South Wales. So this series was filmed at Ride TAFE. TAFE New South Wales are using this video and all the Rare Medium Academy videos as extra tools to assist the chefs in the making and food and beverage hospitality students take their red meat game to the next level. So shout out to TAFE New South Wales for adopting Rare Medium Academy. Please feel free to contact us if you have any questions. My email, sburke@mla.com.au. As we go into the colder months, Rare Medium Academy has some beautiful winter beef menus that can help you. Just head to our recipes section and have a look at over 60 videos featuring Australian beef and lamb and some beautiful winter beef menus to really penetrate some winning results onto your menu. We also have a link to Rare Medium Academy, raremedium.com.au. Raremedium.com.au is our e-magazine with our wonderful Mary Jane Morse, Miffy Rigby and Mark Best. The next edition is our Luxe edition. It's out on March 11 and we've got features on fire door, woodcut, rock pool, gimlet, burnt eds, as well as Jack Kellick's new restaurant, Ark in Adelaide, David Blackmore's Wagyu, and a big business section featuring Robert Smithson from Donata Air Catering, the biggest airline catering company in Australia. Just some final words on sustainable menus that I really want to get through to you. Eat all food in recommended amounts. Reduce food waste by buying and cooking what you need. And finally, follow the Australian Dietary Guideline when promoting and producing sustainable menus. A big thank you to all of our women across Australia. As a proud father with 3 beautiful daughters and my wife, love you all. My beautiful Julie Ballard here, who's our corporate chef, does a fantastic job and is a big part of Rare Medium Academy, and all the women throughout food service and the agricultural industry. A big, happy International Women's Day to you. We'll be back at next month with the next edition of Rare Medium Academy. Keep smiling. Bye for now.